And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
Let's try this again. What's up, everyone? This is Wes Tankersley, the host of Shaping Success. Thanks for hanging out. We had a little bit of quick, whatever the heck that was going on, but I wanted to hop on, do a little solo episode today. Robert is not with us, so this is Shaping Success. Robert and I do the podcast every Monday. We didn't do it last week because I wasn't feeling well, but we do it every Monday. Two nobodies who know nothing on the Shaping Success Network. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, which is just me by myself, sometimes with a guest. We also do Shaping Success Treasure Valley, which I'm going to get back into. Interesting little note this weekend. I went and spent the weekend in downtown Boise, which is about a half hour with us. Got a little break from the kids, and my wife and I spent some time together. And I saw a friend of mine who is going to be on the podcast. I haven't seen him in a long time. Probably has been 12 years, but we communicate back and forth. And the reason why I say 12 years is I met Kyle Miller when he did a tattoo on my arm for my daughter, whose name is Tatum Noel Tankersley. I have a TNT Dynamite tattoo. So looking forward to having him on Shaping Success Treasure Valley. We're going to get some more people in on that. If you don't remember what that one is, or if you haven't seen that, that is with guests from the Treasure Valley in Boise, Idaho area that I live around. They typically are people who are entrepreneurs or things like that. Kyle owns a tattoo shop. I've had a bunch of different people from different places, realtors, builders, entrepreneurs, those types of people in the Valley. I love to talk to them about how they do those things. And so that is Shaping Success Treasure Valley. So there's kind of like 3 shows popping on here. Sometimes I have guests on Shaping Success from other areas. And we'll talk about one of those in a minute here. But if you want to support the show, please go to patreon.com/Wes Tankersley. You can go in there for as little as $3 a month. You can help the show grow. One of the things that I really want to do is get a second camera, which is quite expensive, but I can't quite really afford it myself, so that when I do the interviews in person, I can have 2 angles of them looking at it. I bought this camera that I have here, and it's pretty crazy the cost of what they are, but I want to be able to make it better for you guys. And so whatever little money that gets donated to me, I have 2 Patreons right now that pay, Nikki Pavlovich and Anna Mellon. Thank you very much for your support of the show. But if you would like to support the show, there's a couple different ways you can do it. One of them is Patreon. The other is, putting stuff on, making sure that you comment on YouTube, you subscribe there. And I try to reply to every comment that comes across on the YouTube. We don't get a whole lot of them. We get a lot of views. You can also subscribe on TikTok. That is one place, but we're all over social media, and any reviews or anything like that help. So I wanted to talk this morning, wanted to say a couple things about a guest that I had on here at one point. His name is Chris Henderson from 3 Doors Down. And for those of you who know, Brad Arnold, the lead singer of 3 Doors Down, passed away. I did send Chris a message, but for all those people who love 3 Doors Down, who it played a big part in their life, he has passed away. And it's kind of a tough one, because I think when you think about music and what draws you to it and why you listen to it, it's kind of crazy, just to think about it. In memory of Brad, I'm wearing Chris's MTR Defense hat and sweatshirt. You guys can go get that gear. It's a pretty cool thing that Chris Henderson does, who was on the podcast and talked about how he got into music and how he became a guitar player. And him and Brad were really good friends, and they actually went to school together. And it's funny because I remember him talking about the story about how he wrote Kryptonite, which is the song that I remember, when I first heard 3 Doors Down, because, I'm a big Superman guy. I've got a whole DC sleeve on my arm. And when you listen to him talk or sing that song, like, it was like one of those things. And I still remember sitting there listening to that in Moscow, Idaho, when it came out, when I was just out of high school. It's such a great song. And then he wrote so many other songs together that just, it's one of those things that I talked about. You have this thing, like I was eating a double bacon cheeseburger the other day at Carl's Jr. Like I popped that thing out, and then all of a sudden I'm just instantly taken back to where I was when I first had my first double Western bacon cheeseburger. It's a weird story, but those are the things that you think about. And there's things that remind me a lot about that, about anything. When you sit down and you're in a familiar place and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, this takes me back. This makes me remember this moment. And music is one of those things. So rest in peace, Brad. You've been a big part of a lot of people's lives, and that's a big hurt. When you were diagnosed a couple months ago, it seems like it wasn't very long ago when you came out and you talked about those things. So I know you're in a better place, and I know that a lot of people will miss you, including your family and Chris and all the Three Doors Down band members. So that's a tough one. On another note, moving on from that, today is one of my really good friends, one of my best friends, actually, someone that I talk to every single day. It's his 50th birthday. So, Jay, I just wanted to say happy birthday to you. Happy 50th birthday. You guys can go follow at One Drink Wednesday. Jay and I do One Drink Wednesday on Instagram it's been Tuesday because I've been coaching my daughter's basketball team. And practices are Monday and Wednesday. It's called One Drink Wednesday for a reason. It's on Wednesday at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. But we got 2 more weeks of it being on Tuesday because I have to coach, and One Drink Wednesday is at 7 o'clock Pacific, so is my daughter's basketball practice. So we've got 2 more weeks of practice, and once that is over, we'll be going back to Wednesday. But Jay and I met a long time ago in a podcasting group. And it's funny, as my wife and I spent the weekend downtown, we were talking about a lot of about Jay, and like how I met Jay. And it's worth bringing up to me because if you go back and you listen to some of the episodes that I had, there were some people that were in this group that I had no idea what Instagram voice messaging was. And this was 2019, and I don't know that voice was a big thing. I remember Gary Vee talking about voice and how it was going to be the next big thing. And I somehow, some way ended up in a Instagram chat group. Like someone dropped a whole bunch of people into this chat group, and I started listening to these messages. I'm like, what the hell is this? Who are these people who are talking to me and telling me this and that? And I had just started podcasting. Like I had probably been doing it for 3 months. It was like right after COVID. I had a little bit more time to interview people because I think I had like a 2-week break from work while they tried to figure out the COVID scenario. Once they figured that out, I went back to work, but I still did all the interviews that I was doing. And it was crazy that we're sitting in this group and I'm talking to these people. I have no clue who they are. They're from all over the country. And Jay was dropped in that group. And what was funny about it was he had said something about stickers. Like I have these stickers that I have Shaping Success stickers. I have a whole bunch of them, but he was like, hey, go to Sticker Mule. They have all these promotions or whatever all the time. And they talk about this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how do I get involved in that? And I asked him some question, and he just he made some kind of like snarky remark. And that was kind of the thing where I just kind of became instantly friends with him. And it wasn't like snarky, but it reminded me of my older brother who I call it snarky because most people would hear him say something like this and they'd be instantly like, this guy's a dick, like instantly be just like turned off. And I was like, man, this guy's like, hey, dude, you want to know how to do it, then you better figure it out. Like, I'm not going to hold your hand all the way through this scenario to tell you how to do something. Just go sign up and figure it out. And so I instantly took that as like, man, this guy's no nonsense. That's the way I like it. I like people who tell you exactly how it is so that you don't have to sit around and wonder, right? Like if you're doing a shitty job, I want to hear it. Like if I did something wrong, I want to hear it because I can't fix things that I don't know. So kind of fast forward a little bit through that, we started interviewing all these people in this group. I've learned how to voice text. We were talking. This group kind of got a little bit bigger and bigger, and he kept adding other people to it. And it wasn't Jay who was this Dino guy started adding other people to the group. And then instantly he started, as it started to get bigger and bigger, this is what I thought was so funny about it was if he didn't like something that you said, then he would like drop you from the group. And stupid stuff. Like my wife and I were talking about this, like Brian Sales, who is a good friend of ours as well, that was in this group after, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute, but he would say, he'd wake up, we'd get in there and he'd say, good morning. And it would be good morning. Like you look at good morning and how it's spelled, good, G-O-O-D, morning, M-O-R-N-I-N-G. And Dino would go, I don't really like when you guys say good morning, because it's basically like good morning, morning, MOURN, like you're mourning someone. And this was where kind of like the wokeism came in here. He started getting woke on some stuff with us. And the next thing you know, we'd say something. So everyone would get in there and like grand rising would be the good morning. And I'm like, this is freaking ridiculous. But, you just kind of work through it. You get past it. You don't really say anything. You think some people are just silly and have dumb things to say. And at that time, we were really woke. But it didn't really make any sense because I've never looked it up, but I'm pretty sure that people don't say good morning like that. Like it's like good morning. It's the morning and it's good, not good. I'm mourning someone. So kind of dumb, kind of insane. But those are things that I remember. And like we would say something against it. Next thing you know, you get dropped from the group. Well, little by little, there's 4 of us that are talking in this group and then talking on the side. My friend Brian, Jay, and me, and then Zach Johnson, he lives in Germany, but he's from Canada, and he's a professional baseball player over in Germany. And so we're all having these side conversations, and one by one we drop like flies. He kicks me out. I don't know. I think he kicked Brian out first, then he kicked me out of the group, then he kicked Zach out, and then Jay was the last one. But Jay kind of hung out in there and kind of bit his tongue a little bit, and just to kind of get the feeling of what was going on in that group. But that's one of those things that if you look at it, like if I was never part of that group, I probably never would have met Jay. I never would have met Brian. I never would have met Zach, and I never would have built those relationships with those people. And then the other people who were in there, I really think there may be 2 or 3 people who still podcast out of that whole lineup that we still talk to. The rest of them just kind of dropped off. And that's what's weird about podcasting is like people will start and they think that no matter what, it's just going to keep going and they're just going to have massive following and they're going to make money. And like the number one thing that I always see in these groups, and I'm really only in one group now, which is in Buzzsprouts group, which is the place where I upload my podcast. But they talk about the first thing is I released 2 episodes. What do I do to get monetized? And it's like, if you're in it to make money, especially like 2 episodes in, you're insane. I mean, I've literally had 2 sponsors. I want sponsors, but I'm not going to go beg people to sponsor me. I mean, and you could do that. Some of these people have friends and things like that sponsor them, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to just get someone to sponsor you. And so that's the number one thing that they go for. And all these people, that's all they talk about. How do I get monetized? How do I get monetized? How do I get monetized? Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't look at podcasting as something that is going to make you millions and millions of dollars. It may later on down the line, but you look at like Joe Rogan. He doesn't just podcast. He has a podcast and it's very successful, but that's not all that he does. And it wasn't the thing that made him all his money. All the other things that he did made him his money. So it was kind of tough to listen to those people talk like that. But again, though, happy birthday, Jay. It's one of those things. I'm glad that I ended up in that group, even though I got kicked out of it at some point. We still stayed friends, and we've been talking every day since. So it's very good to have you in my life, and this is how I met a bunch of other people too. Nikki in the chat room, AJ, Brian. Like all those people, Brian, Zach. They're all friends of mine that I met through some weird way that just ended up being a friendship that we've had for a very long time. Yesterday, another big thing was the Super Bowl. Interesting enough, I did watch the Super Bowl. That's usually, I've watched more football games this year than I have in the last, 5 years. Kind of funny, the Super Bowl was in San Francisco. As a kid growing up, I was a huge 49ers fan. I'm a big Giants fan for baseball, but I was a 49ers fan. And it was kind of funny yesterday watching that game because I did watch a couple 49er games before. So I watched him play the Colts this year because I'm a big Colts fan. And I was like, I hope Phillip Rivers, who came back at 40 years old, and he played quarterback for the Colts this year, which I watched that. I wanted to see him beat the 49ers because I'm a Colts fan now. But then the next week it was the 49ers were playing the Seahawks, and I watched that game. I think I watched two of them. There was another one, too, that I watched. Anyway, I did watch a couple 49ers games, and only because I like Brock Purdy. And I hear all these people like Cam Newton saying that he's not a quarterback, and it's funny to me to hear Cam Newton talk when he never won a Super Bowl. He never did anything in the NFL other than show up and play and talk. And he talks about how big he is and how good he was and how much like Eli Manning doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame before I do and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, just shut up and do you. Just freaking shut up. And so he's talked a lot about how Brock Purdy is not a good quarterback and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And everyone hits on him and hates on him and this and that. And so anyway, that is why I watched a couple 49ers games this year, because I like Brock and I really wanted to see him succeed. I want to see him win that Super Bowl so that he can look at Cam Newton and go, shut up, you're an idiot. He wouldn't say that, though, because he talks with his actions and not his mouth. So it's kind of fun to watch him play, because you look at Joe Montana, it was the same way. He just was that guy. He'd go out there and he would just kick ass. And then if you go and watch these documentaries, you realize that he was a really tough guy. And he's like, nope, a competitor, a person who's like, no one's going to go in for me. And it was a tough thing for him when he hurt himself. And then San Francisco traded him because they weren't going to let him start. They wanted to be a backup. And of course he wanted to start, and he proved that he could still do it for 2 more years with the Chiefs. So, anyway, watch the Super Bowl. But one of the things that I thought was funny is my wife wants to watch it too. So she sits down with me and we start watching, and she's like, you're going for the Seahawks, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going for the Patriots because I want to root for the team that's the underdog. That's always the way that I look at it. And then I also, we're closer geographically to the Seahawks probably than the Patriots. We're 100% closer because Seattle is, probably about 8 hours away from here. But I don't like the Seahawks. Like, I can't stand them. And they won, so congratulations to them. But I just can't stand them because they're like, I'm not a 49ers fan, but they're the ones who stopped the 49ers from going to the Super Bowl. So, and then looking at it, they have a better team, obviously, but the Patriots are super young. And it was cool to see them back there for the first time without Tom Brady, but they just couldn't put it together. But what I had to do is I just looked over at my wife. I'm like, I love you. You root for who I want to root for. You support who I want to support, because she was like, the whole game, she was watching Seattle do something. She's like, damn it. And, like she was going off about that. And then she's going off on the Patriots, how like, you need to do this. And it was just fun to watch because I said, this is who I'm rooting for. And, she was supporting me in my rooting. But ultimately the Seahawks won. I think the Patriots will be back. I think they've got a really talented team, and seeing Mike Vrabel, who played for the Patriots back in the day when they were winning all those Super Bowls, was kind of fun to see him coach a game. But I can't remember the name of the Seattle's coach, but he's only 38. So that's pretty cool too, to see a guy under 40 win a Super Bowl. But the last thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about here, and I know this is just an update rambling type podcast this morning without Robert, like I said, but there's some things that have been bugging the shit out of me. And it has to do a lot with the biggest time that I see all this stuff is everything that's going on with the political scene. I don't really want to talk about the political scene, but what I want to talk about, and I've done a couple episodes on this. I was thinking about it the other day. I was talking to Nikki about it, but it's friends with conditions. Okay. We have all these situations where people are putting conditions on you, and it's kind of annoying. It kind of drives me insane. I'd made a couple posts about it on TikTok, and a couple friends of mine, like the Toxic Pirate, who's been on here, made one the other day. And we were just kind of relating this thing that we have. It's bigger with the political scene, but we have these people who are friends with conditions. They're saying on social media, if you don't agree with me, then unfollow me. That's what they're saying. And it is driving me insane. It is driving me crazy that if you think that I don't agree with you, that we cannot talk and we cannot have a conversation about certain things, you cannot put conditions on people in your friendships. What kind of person are you when you tell someone that if they like President Trump, then you cannot be friends? If you like President Biden, then you cannot be friends. If you agree with what's going on, then you cannot be friends. The problem with this whole scenario is that everyone has different thoughts. Everyone has been in a different place. Everyone has, seen these things happen in a different light. And so you can't really say that. You can't really be that type of friend and tell people that they have conditions on what your friendship has to do with. Toxic Pirate talked about crunchy peanut butter, and some people call it smooth or creamy peanut butter. If you like crunchy peanut butter, then screw you. I don't want to be friends with you because I like creamy, and that's the only kind that you can like. Think about that. We're basing our friendships on people having differences of opinion. It goes down into relationships. I like girls with blonde hair. You like guys with gray hair. We can't be friends. Okay, so because we like different things, because we have different thoughts, because we have different beliefs, we cannot be friends, right? That's basically what it's saying. There's a lot of LDS people around here. I am a Christian, non-denominational Christian. I go to this church. We can't be friends. You believe something different than I believe. And this is the problem. This is the problem. And for those people, what I want to say to you is if you're going to put these things out here and you're going to say these certain conditions about certain things or whatever, just unfollow people on your own. Don't be friends with anyone. If you cannot come to some conclusion that you are not going to be friends with someone who disagrees with you, then don't be friends with anyone at all. Don't talk to anyone at all. Do the unfriending yourself. I don't see what the self-proclamation is that you need to unfollow me if you believe in this. I don't get it. What is your problem? Why can you not have a conversation with someone and think that, this is happening? When Charlie Kirk got assassinated, when that happened, people are saying he got what he deserved. Like I saw so many people saying that. But then when Renee Good gets shot in Minnesota, it's like, how dare you? How dare you let this innocent woman be shot? Like these are two separate, completely different things, but you were just talking about this and saying that. What I have to tell you is I am proud to be an American. That's what it has to do with. I am proud to be American. I posted this picture of the flag the other day, and people associate the flag with MAGA. Like this is that. If you like the flag, you are MAGA. And if you are MAGA, then I cannot be friends with you. Let's get back to the days where we were proud of our country, proud of the choices that we made, proud of the people who went to go fight for us so you could say that you don't like that flag, so that you could say that you do like that flag, so that you can hang it outside. That flag used to mean something, and it means something to me. It means something to a lot of my friends, but when you say that because this guy said something, this flag means nothing, this flag is this flag is that, it makes you think that it makes people think that you're not proud of your country. And I think that that is the wrong example to be setting. We need to get behind the country. We need to try to get together. We need to have these tough conversations with people that we don't like. And we don't need to be sitting there putting these conditions on relationships with people. If you don't like the person, unfollow them. Don't be friends with them. But don't give them a condition to be a friend with you. I'm not going to do that. If I don't like you, I'm just not going to talk to you. But I'm not going to sit there and pronounce that you have to not be friends with me. And what you're doing is wrong because we don't know the scenario. We don't. There's some people who, swear off. There's girls that swear off men because they got beat by a man. That's what happens. It's a completely different scenario. No one knows where you came from. No one knows what's going on. No one has any clue of what you're talking about. But don't sit there and say, you can't do this. Explain yourself. Talk to them. Have a conversation with them. Maybe you just don't like those people. Maybe you don't want to be friends with them. But don't have conditions and quit professing on your freaking social media that you should unfollow me if you don't agree with this. Because you don't know the whole story. You don't know what's going on. Listen and talk if you need to, but talk with that person instead of trying to tell the whole world what you believe. You're not going to change a whole lot of things just by doing certain things. If you really don't like the way that something is, then get involved. Get involved. Go run for government. Go join a chapter. Go be whatever you want to be. But stop sitting there and telling people that you can't be friends with me because you don't like broccoli and I do. It's just stupid. That's how dumb it is. I'm tired of it. And that's what I've got for you guys today. Ending on that note, I want to just say thank you to everyone for being here and supporting Shaping Success through the years. Appreciate you. Again, until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.